Hello there, my name is RobotDavid11, and today in Space Engineers I got bored with guns, so today I tried building guided missiles. I wanted to use hydrogen thrusters, and so I began by placing down a tank. Then, since it needed to be filled, I added a connector as well. I estimated that after placing down the rest of the blocks, the center of mass would be around here, and so that's where I placed a gyroscope in order to make it the most efficient. And I also put the thruster down. I used the combat AI block so that the missile could lock onto a target and intercept it. Then I added a small battery so that the missile would have enough power for a short flight. The final step was to add the warhead, the most exciting bit. In order to detonate the warhead, I had to add a sensor. I lowered all the sensor's extents as much as possible, except for the forward extent, which I changed to 1 meter. And so with that, I had a prototype missile. As a first test, I placed down this antenna and switched ownership to space pirates, so it would be classed as an enemy. I turned on AI behavior, and I watched it fly nowhere near the target. Very disappointing. Although the missile was designed to take down fighters and not beacons, so I thought why not test it out against a fighter. It failed again. So I sent another missile at it, though unfortunately this one also became space debris. It only really worked at point blank range, and so I thought maybe it's not best for a zero-G environment. When I got to the ground, I built a simple launcher so that I could continue testing. Although, like in space, the missile would just continuously orbit around the target, never once hitting it. So I sent another missile at it, and by some lucky chance, it somehow actually hit. But of course, there's always room for improvement. I moved around some of the blocks, but the main change I made was adding the downwards thruster, which in theory would help counteract gravity. Which is why I was extremely confused as to why the missile was heading straight towards the ground. And it happened again. Annoyingly, that time the warhead didn't even explode. So I sent another missile at it, and that's how I found the source of the problem. It turns out the missiles were locking onto the wreckage of the last fighter I tested with. I thought that would be it, but after the missile overshot for like the 50th time, I knew I still had work to do. Clearly, I needed more thrusters, so I added 2 more. I sent it away and hoped for the best. It might have missed, but it only missed the first time, because then it made a comeback by literally coming back and finishing off the job. So I sent another missile at it to make sure it worked. This time it didn't. I was unable to repeat my success on the third test as well, and so I concluded it still wasn't finished. Obviously, the last thing I could really do was to add another thruster on top. I didn't do this earlier because I was conscious of fuel consumption rate, but logically speaking it would take more fuel to continuously circle around an enemy rather than to fly in a straight line and hit them head on. So after this upgrade, the missile could now hit with bullseye accuracy. Hit the ground, that is. Genuinely though, it was beginning to work as intended. And it worked again. I built this simple launcher, which I really liked how it turned out. And in this phase I made one final modification, which was a timer block to streamline the attack sequence. I also experimented with a mobile design, though this one was a bit more iffy. And finally, with a few small changes, I was able to accommodate one of the missiles on a fighter. And this worked better than I could imagine. So, do you prefer missiles, or would you still stick with guns? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, consider sending another missile towards the subscribe button, and I'll see you next week.